All right, we're live. What's going on? Peace, power, blessings. So, what we're gonna do uh, in these series of videos is we're going to see how we can collect data from a form in JavaScript and then take it and kind of package it up, and we'll just get it to do like a simple display on the screen. Now, this is like an introductory, well, not quite introductory, maybe a little further introductory lesson on forms. Uh, but it certainly is not like a fully fleshed out application. Okay, so uh, I'm not going to focus so much on like form validation. I'm not going to focus on like actual storage of the data that we retrieve from the form. That's like a completely other lesson, uh, which that we'll save that for another time. This one is just simply how we can collect the data from a user and just kind of package it up neatly and do some checks or whatever. But more so, we'll be taking it. Uh, I don't think we're going to use filter or map or anything, but we are going to like build out, some simple cars just to get a display on the screen rather than just consoling everything. So if you want to go back and see like how to build out a form or whatever, I'm going to do some form. I'm going to build out the form here in this lesson, but also have some videos on forms. This is, again, it's not uh introductory, just maybe like chapter 2. So anyway, with that being said, get started. This is what I have so far. This is my HTML. I'm using Bootstrap for this because I just want just like simple layout. I'm not going to do a full layout. I'm not going to style it up in CSS and everything. I just want to have some kind of structure there, just to have, let Bootstrap handle all of that uh, simple styling, if you will. And you can always go and build your own CSS style sheet and play with it and do all the colors and nice looking layout and all the fancy stuff. You can do that on your own. This is just to get something on the display as opposed to just consoling the data. Okay, so anyways, with that being said, I always like to start off with a header, give it a class header, give it an ID header, and inside of that header, I'm going to put a container. These are containers are Bootstrap class, and inside of there, I'm just going to make an H1. I'm going to give it a class heading. I'm also going to employ the Bootstrap classes text center and text. I'll go with capitalize. And right here, I'll put books. So that's all they have in my header. Uh, Next up is going to be the form. And the form is going to be inside of a main. So I'm going to do a main element and I'll have two sections. I have one section that will be the form, and the other section will be where we display the cards. So this is all just the structure of how it's going to look on the browser. The real magic is going to happen inside of JavaScript. So let me do a main element with a class main, give it an ID of main. As you can see there, so the image abbreviations for those if you've been using Visual Studio Code, don't know all the little tricks, little shortcuts, what have you. This is creating a main element with a class main. The class is represented by a dot, and the ID main, the ID is represented by the hashtag, or us more formally educated in web development, the octothorpe. Anyway, so I got a main there, and I said I'm going to do two sections. So do section, give the class section, and I'm gonna say star2 to create two of them. Bam, there we go. This first one, I'm gonna give it an ID of form section. And the second one, I'm gonna give it an ID of card section. Car section is going to, well, no, we're going to change. We're going to add a couple things to it. Let me not get too fast. All right. So here inside of the form section, I'm going to use a form element. I'm going to give it a class form, give it an ID of book form, like so. The action. So later on, when we start working with building out an API and talking to a database, this action will actually put something in there. We'll provide a URL. For right now, we're going to make this a dead link. So just put a hashtag right there. And that, again, that creates a dead link. Okay, so what I want to do for this, because we're going to do books, basically we're going to say you'll be able to enter the title of a book, the author of the book. We'll have a, I suppose, a checkbox to state if, or we can do a radio. I'd rather use a radio to say if this book is paperback or hardcover or digital. We'll also be able to add, the first or the year that the book was released, like say the first edition. Also the genre, and the genre I think we'll do a checkbox for that to say, this is a thriller or a fantasy or a fiction, nonfiction, etc. So we'll see how we can collect all this information from a form and what the different inputs do and how we can move that over and build an object in JavaScript from it. Okay. So here we go. So form, I'm going to make a row. Oh, before that, I forgot. What I'm going to do inside of my main, I'm going to make a container. I'll do that inside of section rather. So here inside of section, I'll make a container, and I'm going to move this form inside of my container like so. So make sure that your container nests your form. The form should be on the inside. Now I got my form. Now I will do I'll make an H2 right here. I'll say form, give it a class form dash heading. Also give it a class text dash capitalize. Okay, and I will say, enter book information. All of this needs to be nested inside of the form. So I'll make a little comment right here. Inside, let's see, I'll say start form. And I'll make another comment right here that says in form. So that way you can make sure that everything that's going inside of the form is inside of these comments. If it's inside of the comments, we know it's inside of the form. Okay. So now I want to make a row. And inside this row, I'm going to make a column. These are Bootstrap classes. Again, this is just handling the layout. And I will do a label. And this will be for book title. Now about these, the labels, and this is not a lesson in HTML, but just so you can be familiar, we have with the label a for attribute, and this label is attached to an input, and the ID of the input needs to match with the for attribute for the label. So those two names need to be the same. So that way we're connecting this label to this input. Why? For accessibility. We want to be good coders. We want to be thoughtful developers when we're out here building, because the web is accessible for everybody. nobody's paying me for this. It's just what I believe in. That whenever we're building any kind of application, particularly for the web, that it is accessible for all people. So there are certain things that are built in to these elements, and we format it in a certain way so that it is accessible, so that a person with a screen reader um, can use the web, be able to function for them just as it would anyone else. Okay, so I got 4, and I'm going to add a class form label. I believe that's the Bootstrap class for this. Just a little styling. That's all. And right here, I will say, I'll also add text capitalize here. Text capitalize. And right here, I'll put title. Okay. And I think this is fine. I was going to put this on separate lines, but I'll leave that there like so. And so to pair it up, I need an input. The input type is going to be text. Okay. Now my attributes here probably are going to go on different lines. So it's going to be a text. I need an ID, and again, that needs to match with the 4 attribute for my label. So this is going to be book title. Class is going to be form-control. That is a Bootstrap class. Going to put a value. That's going to be an empty string. They move all these on separate lines. And I'm also going to add a name attribute, and is also going to be book title. And I always like to, for my self-containing tags, add a little slash here. There are reasons I like to do that. So let me clean this up. So this is what matter of fact, let me do this as well. There we go. So here we go. I have my label here, and I have my input that is inside of that column. Okay. So I will do another column, and this will be a label for, this will be book author. Class is also going to be form-label, and text capitalized as well. Author. And input is going to be the same. So input type text. ID is going to be book author. Class is going to be form label. Going to add a name attribute. Book author, and the value will be an empty string. And let's see what we got here. All right. So that's that column. I think we can also do year released. I'll do that on another column as well, all inside the same row. So make another div with a class column. Label for, I'll say YR released. Class reform-label, and text dash capitalize. And here, released. Now with this, I'm going to just simply use a text as an input. And what I'm going to do, what I plan to do is inside of the JavaScript, I want to say, hey, if this input, when I convert it to a number, is not a number, then, you know, there's some kind, then there'll be an error and say, hey, you need to make this into a number. We could use the number input for it. We could definitely do that and put a min on it. As a matter of fact, you know, we'll just do that. Now that I think about it, I'm gonna say input. The type here is gonna be number.
Your text capitalizes outside the quotation.
So it is. Thank you. That would have been a catastrophe. All right. This is input for year released. So input type number, class, also going to be form dash control. Name going to be year released. I'm going to put a min on this saying this is the earliest that this book should have been written. I'm going to say the book has to have been written. I'll say 1620. I don't know why. I'm just picking that year. The max is going to be this current year. And what else I want to add? A value. The empty string. So what this input is going to do is you're going to have to input a number. It will only accept a number. And the minimum value that you could have on here is 1620, meaning no book before 1620 can be entered. So I don't think Don Quixote will make it. I think Don Quixote was written well before 1620. But anyways, the minimum value would be 1620. The maximum would be 2025, meaning that you can't put, you know, the year 30,042. There won't be books then. So yeah, there we go. There's the input there. That looks good. And that is all my row. So notice when I click on this div, I get this line here. You may need to add some extensions to your Visual Studio Code that will allow you to, you know, kind of see how things are indented. But notice this line here. So I can scroll down on this line and it lets me know where that certain div ended. Just a little technique. James Brown said, I teach them everything that they know, not everything that I know. Anyways, we got a row here. I'm going to make another column. And inside this column, I want to do a radio. So we'll do some radios. And this will say if this book is paperback, hard copy, or digital. And I forget a lot of times how to style up a radio using Bootstrap. So I go to the docs and I have the docs right here. I'm going to scroll down to where forms are, this section. And I think it's checks and radios is where it is right there. So I click on checks and radios and I can scroll right here on this tool. We'll just nav over here on the right, click on radios, It shows me how I could do radio. So I make divs with the class form check, and the inputs will have form check input. Type will be radio, and it'll have a name and an ID, and then I have a label, which would be form check label, and a for attribute, and then some text. Okay, so here, inside my column, again, I will start with a form check div. And inside the form check div, the first thing I'll do is I'll put my input. The input type will be radio. Get a class form dash check dash input. It will have an ID, and that ID will be I'll do I'll do hardback, or yeah, I'll say hardback. It needs a name. The name will be I guess format. I'll say book format. And I think that should be good. Yeah, we can roll with that. And now I need a label. The for attribute is going to be the same as the ID, which is hardback. It needs a class. The class will be form dash check dash label. And the text, I will put hardback. And I'll also add the class text capitalize. I don't know if hardback is one word or two. We'll hyphenate it then. Yeah, we'll roll with that. All right. So here we inside of our form check, we have input type radio, class form check input. The ID is hardback, name book format, and then we have a label for hardback, class form check label, text capitalize, and then hardback. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this form check div. Now I'm going to work smart, not hard, and paste it right below the div. And so now this will be paperback. The name stays the same. Here on the for, this is going to be paperback, and this will be paperback. All right. Yep. And I'm going to paste it one more time. This ID is going to be digital. Book format be the same. For it's going to be digital, like this, digital, and I think that's good, because I mean, digital, I mean, audio book would qualify. No, that's something different, because the digital book could be like Kindle. Oh, Kindle, rest in peace.
My dad still uses one.
Yeah, I had one for a very long time, and I used it for a long time, even after They were more or less obsolete.
I somehow broke the table. I still to this day don't understand how it broke.
Make an audio book. All right, so I think those four are good. So we got hardback, paperback, digital, and audio. That's simple. Okay, and that will close up that row or that column. Yeah, and now we'll make a new column. So make sure, again, here you see when I click on column, I can follow this line here, this highlighted line, all the way down to the end of that one. Make a new column. And here inside of this column, I'm going to do another radio. So I'll just paste what I have. Except this radio is going to be whether it's fiction or nonfiction, right? Because there's no, I guess there's no in between. I mean,
Historical fiction.
yeah, historical fiction, which is still fiction. So,
It's real events though, just with fake names.
yeah,
So
we're not going to get that deep because but you can see though, when you're building out a form, it can be pretty elaborate, right? I mean, there's a lot of different little nuances and stuff, no matter whatever the topic is. I'm going to keep this real simple because it's not a lesson on like books and how we classify books, but this is like how we can collect information from a form. So column form check radio. All right, that's good. ID is going to be fiction. The name, I don't even know how do you classify? What's the name? Fiction or nonfiction? What is that?
I mean, those are genres. So
Yeah, but they are genres, but I don't want to put them in a checkbox because if I put them in checkbox, with checkbox you can do multiple items. Yeah, we could, but I want to do a checkbox instead. I put the category. We'll roll with that. We'll say category. So this is gonna be fiction, and we will say right here, not that word. All right. So radio, fiction, name, category. All right, and then make one more form check for the radio here, and this will be nonfiction. We call this category. Yeah, I'm certainly not a librarian. So any librarian out there who's watching these videos, want to learn how to code, my apologies. I mean, she might be helpful. All right, so here we go. We got that's our ID. Well, not our ID. Our radio inputs for the category, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. Okay. And I will stop right there with that column and with that row. So underneath there, I'm going to make another row. And inside this row, I'm going to make a column. And this is going to be our check boxes. And this is going to say what the genre is. So let me come over here. I still use the form check div. I'm here back in Bootstrap looking at how they, what classes are using, how to configure a checkbox with Bootstrap. And the difference again between a checkbox and a radio is radio, those items are mutually exclusive. So it means you pick one, you cannot choose the other. With the checkbox, you can select multiple items. So we could have used a drop down for that. Yes, we could. But rather, instead of just a drop down, we would use a multiple select drop down, which I don't want to do that. I'd rather just use a checkbox because multiple selects are, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, they don't say specifically, hey, click as many as you want, right? That's not, it's kind of vague. Whereas with a checkbox, I know I could just check, whichever. So any rate, here we go. Yes.
So when we did the drop downs in the last cohort, we made the drop down box start off by saying select one. Could we not have it say select up to 3?
Yeah, I mean we could. Yeah, we could do that. But again, that's something you just had to be a little more explicit about. And so that's why I figured, if we do a checkbox, then we can um just check as many.
For checkbox, it's probably easier on user experience than rather having to scroll through a list of genres to just have them all displayed at once.
Oh, exactly. Right. You could see all the genres there because I would have to click on the checkbox and scroll, and I had to adjust the size of the drop down, and that it's books. It could be massive, right? Let me also add. I want to add something. No, I don't. I'm good. But I'll add something here. So inside of this column above this form check, I'll just make a P tag. I'll give it a class form dash text. I'm going to give it a class FST dash italic. That's Bootstrap. And I'm going to say genres select all that apply. Okay. All right. So form check, and then we're going to do an input. And this type is going to be checkbox. And I will say the name is going to be genre. I'll put an S. So genres. The value is going to be, I'll go with fantasy first. And then the class is going to be form dash check dash input. It needs an ID, and the ID will be fantasy. I think that's good for the input. And the label is going to be for fantasy. It's going to be form dash check. I'm sorry. Class form dash check dash label. And this is going to be fantasy, like so. It's just my fantasy. I've seen a face before. All right, so just gonna copy this div, this form check div, paste it below. The next one will be I guess children's. So wherever you see fantasy, change it to children's. After that, I guess classic. Historical. Or would you say history? And if you want to add, other genres, it's up to you. It's all formatted the same. Once you build one of these form checks, you see how easy it is to do others. It's the same format. The main thing that's important, the most important thing, is that the name is the same for all of them, and the ID for the input matches the for attribute for the label, and that the value it represents what this checkbox is for. Let's do self-help books because we all love those. I'm gonna do a graphic novel. What was I thinking? Biography. I love a good biography. A good one. I don't want one just, hey, this person was perfect. They did no wrong. No, I don't want that. Give me the juicy dirt. I don't know how many I've done.
Or
We say horror. Yeah, that's a good one. Horror-y. And I'll do one more. I'll do like science.
Science fiction.
No, just science. Nerds like me like to read about physics and quantum and all that stuff. Okay. Oh, now obviously you can do as many as you want to. I'm not a librarian or anything like that, so I'm not going to be, wholly exhaustive with this. I just want to be able to have something there that we can click on. And again, with using checkbox, we can click on multiple items. All right. I think that's good. I mean, obviously, there's a whole lot more stuff that we could add to this. You know, if there, what kind of translation it is. I don't know, just are there pictures? Just whatever. We can do all kinds of stuff with this. So now what I want to do underneath that row, I'm going to make a div MB-3, and this is where our button is going to go. So I'm going to make a button. Going to give it a class. I'm going to use Bootstrap for this, BTN and BTN dash, I don't know, danger. Say text capitalize on this button. Give it a type. I think we can go with submit. Type submit. And it's going to say submit. And this is our form. Let's look and see what it looks like. There we go. So here we have, oh, I don't like that at all. Something I missed here. I got to check my my classes and my title, my author, year released, hardback, paperback, digital, fiction, nonfiction, and then genre. Let's go back here and look and see what we did with author. Something I forgot to add with that. Let's see. Oh, here it is right here. On my form, on the input, I have form label, and that should be form control instead. Yep, they did it right there. Just like that. Okay. Cool. Not the best looking form, but again, we're not going for style or looks. We can easily go and add some things to this. We can have these be in line if we want to. We can do all that stuff. I'm not going to worry about that. I just want to have something that where we can enter the data. Okay. So that looks good. So now all we need to do is go to our cards section. And this is where we're going to display our cards. Okay. So I'm not going to format how they're going to look now. Normally I would do that. I'll build out a template and then copy it and move it over to JavaScript. I'm not going to worry about any of that. What I am going to do is I'm going to put a container inside of my section like I did previously. I'm going to make a row. And then what I'm going to do, well, no, let me come back it up. So inside this row, I'm also going to add the classes row-calls-1, row-calls-md-2, and I'll say row-calls-lg-4 and g-4. Yep. Those are Bootstrap classes, which simply says, hey, on a small device, have just one card or one entry rather, one column on a small device. On a medium-sized device, have 2 columns. On a large device, have 4. And then G4 just says have this much gap in between. And I'm going to give this an ID of card row. And that is going to be it on my HTML. Obviously, because there's no content in there, just some containers, you're not going to see anything here. I mean, I could put like, a little H2. Matter of fact, I'll probably just do that. Yeah, so right here. But below the container, I'm making H2. Give it a class. Card dash section dash heading. Also give it text capitalize. Text capitalize. And just say book list. So that's where this is where the books is gonna go. They will go there. All right, so that's it with this video. You all, you can go and pause it at any time and type the stuff in. Oh, coach, you type so fast. Yes, years and years of typing. I took typing in high school. That was a mandatory course we had to take, and then I did all right in there, I suppose. So anyways, you can go back, type it up as you want to. Again, if you want to add different genres, you're free to do that. If you want to style it up more with your own style sheet, you can go ahead and do that as well. The real fun is going to be in the JavaScript. And that's where we're going to go to starting on the next video. So I will see you all there.